In the shadowed streets of post-war Leningrad, where the scars of the siege still etched the city's soul, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin entered the world on October 7, 1952. The youngest of 3 sons, he was the only one to survive childhood's cruel grasp, his brothers succumbing to diphtheria and the horrors of wartime starvation. His father, Vladimir Spiridonovich, a factory worker and Navy veteran, bore the wounds of battle, his legs shattered by a German grenade. His mother, Maria Ivanovna, toiled in factories, her family decimated by the war, a grandmother slain by Nazi invaders, uncles lost on the front lines. Amid this backdrop of loss and resilience, young Vladimir grew up in a cramped communal apartment, sharing space with rats and the echoes of a broken empire. 416C85. School number 193 became his battleground, where he traded fists in courtyard brawls before channeling his energy into sambo and judo at age 12. These martial arts forged his discipline, earning him city championships and a black belt that would define his image years later. He devoured Marxist texts, idolizing spies from novels, dreaming of a life in intelligence. High school immersed him in German, a language he'd master, and in 1970, he entered Leningrad State University's law faculty. There, under Professor Anatoly Sobchak's tutelage, he graduated in 1975 with a thesis on international trade principles, joining the Communist Party as required. But his true calling beckoned, the KGB. 767328. Recruited straight from university, Putin trained in counterintelligence, monitoring dissidents and foreigners in Leningrad. By 1985, he was stationed in Dresden, East Germany, as a lieutenant colonel, liaising with the Stasi under the guise of a translator. The Cold War's twilight years were tense. He burned files as crowds stormed KGB offices during the Berlin Wall's fall in 1989, reportedly facing down protesters with a bluff about armed guards. Accusations swirled of aiding terrorist groups like the Red Army faction, though evidence remained murky. In 1990, he resigned from active duty, returning to a crumbling Soviet Union, defending a doctoral thesis in economics on Russia's mineral resources, a foreshadowing of his future energy politics. 3b890f. Politics called amid the chaos. Reconnecting with Sobchak, now mayor of renamed St. Petersburg, Putin became his advisor on international affairs in 1991. He navigated foreign investments, dodging scandals over food import deals that allegedly funneled funds astray. By 1994, as first deputy mayor, he oversaw the city's transformation, building ties with Western firms while quietly maintaining KGB connections. When Sobchak lost re-election in 1996, Putin headed to Moscow, joining Boris Yeltsin's faltering administration. His rise was meteoric. Deputy Chief of Presidential Property Management, then head of the FSB in 1998, purging rivals and reorganizing the security apparatus. 22D6E4. In August 1999, Yeltsin named him prime minister, a surprise to many. Apartment bombings in Russian cities, blamed on Chechen terrorists, propelled Putin to declare war on Chechnya, boosting his popularity. On New Year's Eve, Yeltsin resigned, making Putin acting president. He won the March 2000 election with 53% of the vote, inaugurating a new era. His first term focused on stability. Economic reforms harnessed soaring oil prices, averaging 7% annual growth, slashing poverty, and repaying Soviet debts by 2005. He centralized power, creating federal districts to rein in regional governors, and tamed oligarchs, exiling or jailing tycoons like Mikhail Khodorkovsky who challenged him. 005 AFC. Re-elected in 2004 with 71%, Putin navigated tragedies like the Beslan school siege, where over 330 died, drawing criticism for heavy-handed tactics. He promoted Russian orthodoxy, mending church schisms and positioning himself as a defender of traditional values. Internationally, he criticized U.S. unilateralism in his 2007 Munich speech, resuming strategic bomber patrols and asserting Arctic claims. Term limits forced him to step aside in 2008, becoming prime minister under protégé Dmitry Medvedev in a tan democracy, where Putin pulled the strings. Military reforms culminated in the 2008 Russo-Georgian War, securing breakaway regions and signaling Russia's resurgence. 69C6FD. Returning as president in 2012 amid massive protests alleging fraud, Putin cracked down on dissent, passing foreign agent laws and jailing opponents. Economic woes from falling oil prices and sanctions followed the 2014 annexation of Crimea after Ukraine's Euromaidan revolution ousted pro-Russian leader Viktor Yanukovych. Putin justified it as protecting ethnic Russians, but the world condemned it as illegal, expelling Russia from the G8. He intervened in Syria in 2015, bolstering Bashar al-Assad and establishing a Mediterranean foothold. Re-elected in 2018 with 77%, he amended the constitution in 2020, potentially extending his rule to 2036.4143E3. The pinnacle, or nadir, of his tenure came in February 2022 with the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, framed as a special military operation to denazify the neighbor. It unleashed devastation, millions displaced, cities razed, and allegations of war crimes, including child abductions, prompting an ICC arrest warrant in 2023. Partial mobilization in September 2022 sparked protests and exodus, while annexing 4 Ukrainian regions defied international law. Sanctions crippled Russia's economy initially, but Putin pivoted to China, signing massive energy deals and deepening BRICS ties. Domestically, he intensified repression, poisoning critic Alexei Navalny in 2020, who died in prison in 2024, censoring media, and prosecuting anti-war voices. 12164. Putin's personal life remains enigmatic. Married to Lyudmila Shkrebneva from 1983 to 2014, they had 2 daughters, Maria and Katerina, kept from the spotlight. Rumors abound of relationships with Alina Kabava, a gymnast, and others, with unconfirmed children. His wealth, officially modest at $200,000 annually, is alleged to be billions hidden through associates, exposed in the Panama Papers and Navalny's, Putin's palace, investigation, a lavish Black Sea estate denied by the Kremlin. He cultivates a macho image, shirtless horseback rides, judo bouts, and tiger tranquilizing, earning Putinisms in pop culture. 719146. As of 2026, in his 5th term after a 2024 re-election with 88% amid fraud claims, Putin steers Russia through isolation. The Ukraine war grinds on, with nuclear saber rattling and stalled talks demanding concessions. Allies like China and India provide lifelines, but domestic cracks show, demographic decline prompting family incentives, environmental pledges like net zero by 2060 clashing with fossil fuel reliance, and a media landscape ranked among the world's most repressed. Human rights groups decry an authoritarian slide, with Russia scoring abysmally on democracy indices. 9 CADB6. Yet, approval ratings hover high, fueled by propaganda and nationalism. Putin's story is one of ascent from humble origins to iron-fisted rule, reshaping Russia into a fortress against perceived Western threats. Achievements in economic revival and global assertiveness contrast with controversies of repression, corruption, and aggression. Whether hero or autocrat, his legacy looms over a nation at crossroads, where the boy from Leningrad's courtyards became the enduring face of modern Russia.